listening to The Issues of Life with marriage, family, and child counselor John Jolliffe. 60 minutes of radiotherapy designed to turn issues into opportunities. Now, here's John.
Hello, everyone. This is John Jolliffe, and welcome to the next issue of Life. Someone asked me the other day if I had my life to live over, would I change anything? In fact, as I was talking about it at Tuesday night in our Second Opinions, I was saying that, if I had my life to live over again, would I make the same mistakes that I made before? I said, yes, probably I would. The only difference would be that I'd make them a whole lot sooner, because I did learn a tremendous amount from my failures. You learn from mistakes. You learn from life. Some people don't. Some people never really allow their life to be experienced. And so I made a list of things that I would probably do if I had to live my life over again, if I got the chance to live it over again. I would probably do a few of these things. How many of these things would you say amen to? I think that what I would do is I would talk less and I would listen more. One of the temptations that anybody with any kind of education has is they want to be listened to, or they think that they need to share something. Life is not to be shared, my friends. Life is to be experienced. Instead of wishing away 9 months of pregnancy, I think people who are pregnant, maybe what they would like to do is they would like to realize, and when my wife was pregnant with our 2 children, I would think I would probably realize the wonderment growing inside of my wife was my only chance to assist God in a miracle. Sometimes pregnancy is inconvenient. It's, people get sick, and it's a compromise because you can't just keep doing everything that you always wanted to do before. I think I'd look at my children's pregnancy a little differently. I probably would never have insisted that car windows be rolled up during the summer day because it might blow paper around the car. I think I would probably invite friends over to dinner even if the carpet were stained and the sofa was faded. And I think I would have taken time to listen to my grandmother ramble about her youth. And I think I would have sat cross-legged on the lawn. I would have laid on the grass with my children and never worried about grass stains. And I would have cried and laughed less while watching television and more while watching real life. I would have shared more of the responsibility carried on by my wife, which I have taken for granted. And there would have been a lot more I love yous and more I'm sorries and more I'm listenings, but mostly, if you get another shot at life, I don't know about you, but I would have seized every minute of it, looked at it, really seen it, tried it on, lived it, exhausted it, and never given a minute back until there was nothing left to give it. There are people who do a lot of talking about life. Some people think that life is to be shared. Other people think that life is to be experienced. I just happen to be one of those people that have realized that life is really something to experience. Some people talk about life while other people live it. Some people are so afraid of dying that, they're living as though they're already dead. So many people have so many regrets, and other people just keep repeating the same mistakes. When I look at people who keep repeating the same mistakes, I wonder about that. I think to myself, there must be some lesson, something that keeps them from experiencing life, and so therefore they continue to repeat it, one mistake after the other. We have not connected up with the source of what is wrong. And it's not that we fail at life or that we make mistakes. I don't think that's the problem. I think the bigger problem is that we fail to learn from life. Do you ever have that problem? There's something that you just fail to learn and you're tempted to keep repeating it. And maybe you're afraid to make a decision because you know that there's something that you haven't learned. Afraid to take a risk because you're afraid that, or you're just so confident you'll fail. Somebody asked me, John, if I could only turn the clock back, if I could only change the past. And I said, well, I think I can help you. because I think I've come across a way in which we can change the past. Think about it for a moment. What is today tomorrow? Today tomorrow is yesterday. And yesterday is the past. And so if we choose to change enough of our todays, make some alterations in the course, learn all that we can from our experience, then tomorrow we can say we've done it differently. And if you do enough of your life differently today, then you have a whole long history of changed behavior, and you're living a life now, today, that soon you'll look back on as a new past. You can change the past if you're willing to change today. Get on the lines and let's talk about whatever changes you need to make, whatever life experience you're not yet connected up with. Maybe there's some lesson you seem to not learn, but you keep repeating the same mistakes again and again. Is there something you'd like to change about your life? Pick up the toll-free lines. Let's talk. 1-800-4ISSUES. That's 1-800-447-7837. Have you ever thought about that? If you had to do it all over again, what would it be? And what one thing do you keep repeating that you say, gee, there's just something about this life of mine that I have yet to learn? What keeps us from experiencing life is where the journey begins. Pick up the toll-free lines, 1-800-447-7837. Now, remember, I said yesterday that next week we start right at 2 o'clock, so you might get a chance to listen in a little earlier with us. We'll start right after Minirth and Myers, and we'll begin right at 2 o'clock. That's beginning Monday. And then remember, on Tuesday, November 8th, we'll be there once again at the Holiday Inn. We'll be talking about personal power now, and how to get it and how to keep it. And this is not power over other people, but I think we'll have some interesting things to say about power, what it actually means. Some people are pursuing power in ways that I think really just makes them weak. They think they're powerful, but they're not powerful at all. So we're going to talk about power. What is it? And how do you get it? And how do you keep it? That's next Tuesday at our Second Opinions. Every Tuesday night from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. It's $15. They're at the Holiday Inn in Long Beach right there at the airport. So some things coming up, okay? Also, there's a camerata, a Mozart camerata. If you like orchestras and you like that kind of music, this coming Sunday at the church in Newport Beach called St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church. It's a wonderful occasion to hear some beautiful Mozart music, and you can get tickets right there at the door at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church, 4 o'clock on Sunday, this coming Sunday. Okay, well, let's get on the phones and talk with you and find out what's going on in your life. Hi, Rosie.
Oh, hi. Boy, that was fast.
Yeah, it's fast.
Let me turn off the radio.
Okay.
How are you doing, John?
I'm doing well, thanks, Rosie.
Good. John, it's time for me to deal with my anger. Actually, it's long past time, and I just want to know where to start.
Okay. Well, what do you know about anger? Or how much do you know about your anger?
My anger flares up, comes at different times. I'll have just, long periods of patience and understanding, and then I just have outbursts. And it's rage more than
does
anger.
Does it seem like it's your rage or your anger is overdone for that particular situation?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's old stuff then.
Yeah, it's old stuff. It actually, you know what I know about it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to turn on the radio so the kids can listen to this. Okay, what I know about it is that it comes from expecting too much.
Okay.
And when those expectations aren't met, then I become enraged.
Mm-hmm. 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 And those expectations, are those expectations to make up for things that you were entitled to before but didn't realize or didn't get fulfilled? And so that's what makes us now expect. It's kind of like, I'm due, I'm past due, and therefore you owe me. See, sometimes that's where expectations come from. Let's talk on the other side of the commercial, okay?
Okay.
Stay with me. My name is John Job. We'll be back in just a minute.
boy, I'll never make the same mistakes my parents made. Remember saying something like that as you grew up? Now that you're an adult, how often have you found yourself doing exactly what you hoped you never would? The way we react to the world around us is shaped largely by what we experienced as children and by patterns we picked up from our parents. John Jolliffe calls them inherited emotions, and he explores them in depth in his audio cassette by the same name. In this tape, John talks with Issues of Life callers about the feelings, frustrations, and fixations that follow us into adult life, whether we like it or not. He explains how to get rid of the excess baggage and get on with life like a grown-up. Inherited Emotions. Just ask for it when you contact the Issues of Life Foundation, Box 611, Long Beach, California, 90801. Remember to send along $7.95 for each copy you request. Or if you prefer to use your Visa or MasterCard, you can call 1-800-4ISSUES. Again, that's the Issues of Life, Box 611, Long Beach, California, 90801. Or for Visa or MasterCard users, call 1-800-447-7837.
John Jolliffe, and I'm talking with Becky. Becky's 34 years old, been married for 8 years. She has 4 children, under 7, 6, 4, and 1. And she's calling about anger. And I was talking, just as we went off to the commercial, about expectations, because that's one of the things that Becky was saying, is that she has these expectations that continue to be frustrated or unfulfilled. And I said the pains of childhood oftentimes create expectations in our adult life. And so her anger feels old. It feels like she'd been carrying around the burden of this anger for quite some time. And I asked if she was able to get underneath the anger, and she said it never really occurred to her. There are things that happen before we get angry. Anger is usually the level of which we deal with all of these other levels underneath. The level underneath anger is hurt or fear. There's either some kind of fear or there's some kind of hurt. And rarely do we connect up with that or talk that through. It moves quickly to anger or frustration, or she said rage. Oftentimes when there's a rage, it indicates to me that even your anger cannot be heard, or there's some kind of obstacle to being expressed. You said earlier, off the air, you said your husband is also given to anger and that he's impatient, which would suggest that maybe his feelings at those moments take precedence over yours, which leads to rage with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he doesn't have time for you at that moment. He can't be there for you.
Right.
And that's what leads your anger to escalate to rage.
Yes.
Underneath the anger is the fear or the hurt, and underneath the fear and the hurt is the need. And so there was a need. There was a need that needed to be fulfilled, and it wasn't being fulfilled, which led to hurt, which led later to anger or impatience or frustration or rage. I asked you about your family growing up, and you said that your father was an absent father, and that your mother was angry, and that she had the same kind of expectations that you feel that you do. I'm wondering, in terms of the way you were raised, if your anger or frustration didn't begin then. Because mother's anger has a history to it as well.
Right.
And what we sometimes do is that we blame or project the responsibility for our feelings onto other people in our family. Her husband, your father, he chooses to withdraw. Then who's left? The children.
Right.
How many children were there?
6.
There were 6. And where were you in the birth order?
Middle daughter. There's 3 boys and 3 girls.
Okay. And each child had to deal with mother's anger a certain way. How did you deal with it? And what kind of expectations were placed upon you?
Well, in my early years, I think I was a very complacent child. I did what I was told. I was a good girl. And
A good girl is a girl who keeps her anger and her
Right.
disappointment and
Right.
frustration with her mother
Right,
quiet.
right,
She keeps it a secret.
right,
That's a good girl.
right.
Is that what you were?
Yes.
You were an angry child.
I don't know. I don't relate to that in my early years. I don't relate to being an angry girl.
Well, when you talk about mother's expectations, we're
Well, see, I don't know what the expectations were. I
Well,
just know
but-
that she was angry.
okay, but you also knew that she had expectations?
Yes.
Okay, and
Yes.
and that her anger seemed to suggest that you weren't fulfilling or meeting up with the expectations.
Yes.
But you never really understood what those expectations were.
Right.
Okay. Did that not frustrate you?
Absolutely.
Okay. And did that frustration ever turn to anger?
At 14, I was raped, and from there I went into drugs and alcohol and all of that and didn't come out of it until my early 20s. So during those years of drugs and alcohol, I never dealt with anger. I just,
You never probably felt it.
That's right.
You never experienced it.
I just anesthetized.
All right.
And so since I've come out of it in my early 20s,
Do you think your problems with alcohol and drugs has to do with your rape?
I think that's how I dealt with it. That's how I escaped from the pain.
But do you think that was caused by the rape?
In other words, if the rape hadn't occurred, would I have gone in that direction?
No. No.
Okay.
The question is, do you think alcohol and drugs was done because of the rape, in terms of dealing with the rape?
Yes.
Let me suggest to you another possibility.
Okay.
You chose alcohol and drugs because you couldn't talk this through with your mother. Just
Yes.
as there was no audience for your anger
Yes.
or frustration because mother's need took priority, she couldn't be there for you any more than your father could, so therefore you were left alone to deal with the rape.
Yes. Yeah. Her way of dealing with it was to sweep it under the carpet and keep it a secret.
And this rape, was this somebody you knew?
Yes.
And who was, I'm not asking for a name, but
It
who?
was a family member.
A family member, like a cousin?
Mm-hmm.
A cousin.
Married in.
Pardon me?
He married in to the family.
Okay. And were you friends
Oh,
before the rape?
I idolized him.
This is my whole point.
He was my, yes.
He was your father.
Yeah. Maybe.
He was your mother. He was somebody that you could have an audience with to talk about your experiences, your feelings, and
Yes.
share yourself.
Yes.
And he took advantage of that,
Yes.
confused that as somehow a sexual thing.
Yes.
And this cousin is really your mother or father's son? I mean, your father or mother's brother or sister?
My mother's sister's son-in-law.
Son-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he married in. Okay.
Right.
All right. But you see, that's where the rape came from. The rape came from your needing to have somebody in your life because mother and father weren't.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he betrayed you and your parents had betrayed you, you just cut off altogether.
Right.
And now when you need an audience because of your husband's anger and impatience, he's not there for you either, and that's what leads to your rage.
Right. That's when it started manifesting, as soon after I got married.
Right. My suggestion for you is to be able to control the rage. Well, and again, that's a terrible word, controlling the rage. The ideal thing is so you don't have to control your anger and control your feelings. You want to deal with and try to resolve, make some changes with your relationship with your husband, but certainly change the relationship you have with your emotional history. You shouldn't have to park and you shouldn't have to keep it a secret any longer. And I think that your husband may have some things to work through as well, so he can be there for you, because the issue of abandonment and his not being there for you is the cause of a great deal of concern. Nobody has been. It looks like nobody will be. So
Right.
I'm going to suggest did you get a copy of this tape?
Okay.
Your husband needs something too. I'm not sure what it is that he needs. If you look at his background, it'll tell you a lot more of what he needs in this marriage with you.
Mm-hmm.
It may be peace and quiet. It may be don't challenge me with certain things.
Mm-hmm.
It may be respect. It may be any number of things that he needs. And because you need something that's a little different than he does, he's not there for you, and you don't feel like you're there for him either.
Right.
So an understanding of the backgrounds would be greatly helpful so that he can learn how to be there for you, so that you can also learn how to be there for him. Maybe some individual work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Stay on the line. We'll give you some good referrals, okay?
Thank you.
Get underneath the anger, though, and find the history of those feelings.
Okay.
Okay, my friend.
Thank you, John.
All right, enjoyed it. Talk to
Bye.
you. And there is a history with every one of our feelings. There is a reason why we act and feel the pressure that we do. And expectations are terrible things, particularly when parents are expecting us as children to somehow make up for the deficiencies of their own childhood. You know, you shouldn't have to be anybody other than yourself. When God designed you wonderfully and fearfully in your mother's womb, He did not design you to fill in the gaps for other people. He did not design you to be good fathers and good mothers for your husband or your wife. You're only supposed to be yourself and not some stand-in for the absences and the losses of our past. I know that's controversial because there's a lot of people who try to do a lot of things with marriage, and that's maybe one of the reasons that marriage fails so many people. If we could just be honest about who we're supposed to be, you're just to be your husband's wife. You're not to be his mother. You're not to be his, shall we say, his mentor. You're not supposed to be his therapist. And husbands, you're not supposed to be your wife's father. She had a father, and if she didn't, she has to mourn the loss of that and pick up the pieces and enjoy her marriage. And yes, it may be difficult, but the point is you're not supposed to be anybody than who you are. And if you were in your childhood were other people, other than who you were, then it's so easy in a marriage to be something other than who you're supposed to be. And it just it continues and continues and continues. And you wonder why you're exhausted and you're frustrated and you rage and you're angry and feeling unfulfilled. I think the only way to feel fulfilled is to be yourself. That's the full-time job. Can you imagine trying to be somebody else? Okay, we're going to come back in just a moment. Becky has a problem getting her husband up in the morning. And Guy says, how do I learn to trust myself? And Pauline says, how do you have control with your children during financial crises? How do you maintain control? Well, we're going to talk about these and other things on the next issue of Life, so stay with us. My name is John Jolliffe. This is John Jolliffe, and we're coming back with Becky. Good questions today. Hi, Becky.
Hi.
Welcome to the Issues.
Thank you so much for taking my call. I have a question. I'd like to ask your advice on a problem I've been having with my husband for, even before we got married. We've been married 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm going to have you do this, Becky, so
Sure.
we don't have to over-modulate. I'm going to have you speak up if you would, okay?
Okay, can you hear me now?
That's a little better, thank you.
Okay. My husband has a problem where every morning, just about every morning, he he has 2 alarm clocks because he says he cannot hear them. He sleeps too soundly. And they are set like every 2 minutes they go off after you hit snooze. And what happens is it takes about an hour, about a half hour every morning to actually have him finally get out of bed. And this has been going on forever, ever since even before we were married. His mother had the same problem with him. And I have played the role of what I consider as being like a mother in that I have to shake him and say, wake up, wake up, wake up. And then he'll hit a snooze alarm. Then he'll go back to sleep, and then it goes off again. And then we go through the same routine.
Well, why does he have to get up?
Well, he has to get to work.
Mm-hmm. What kind of job does he have?
He's a plant manager.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, why don't you? Do you like this role that you're in?
No, I hate this role that I'm in.
How long have you hated it?
Probably for a good, probably most of the 17 years.
Mm-hmm. So, am I learning something about you?
What, that I've allowed this to go on?
Yes. You don't make changes with things you hate. Huh? You just learn to hate them better, right?
Well, and I was listening to the other Becky who just called, and she said that you said that good girls keep their anger and frustration inside and try to keep quiet about it. And every time I bring it up or I try to discuss it with my husband,
Discuss what? Your problem with him?
that's how it comes across, that it's my problem.
Does he hear it that way?
Yes. Well,
Does he hear it that this is your problem?
I'm not sure. He will...
But it feels to you that he hears it that way.
yes, it does feel that way.
Okay. So why don't you stop making it a problem for you?
How do I do that? I don't know.
Oh, I think you know.
No, I don't know. I really and truly... We have...
The R word,
what, respecting myself?
well, that's one way of saying it. Another word that starts with R that would help you in this regard.
Responsibility? No, I don't know.
Listen, this has been a problem for 17 years. Don't resign yourself to this.
Oh, I see.
What's the R word?
Resign.
See? Your mom didn't raise any
And
dummies.
That's true. That's what I'll do. I'll go through periods where I'm resigned to it,
Yeah, that's right.
and then I'll get angry and I'll say, no, we're not going to do this anymore.
We're?
Well,
Who's
but
we're?
I feel like I am taking part because I am agreeing to be like a living alarm clock.
Yes, why don't you just resign? Not resign in the sense of tolerate. Why don't you just resign in terms of quit?
Well, how do I go about that?
Oh, come on.
Well, if I can't, it's
Yes, I can't because?
well, if I'm laying there next to him and the alarm is going off and on and on and on and on, we don't get up at the same time. Our schedules are very different. I've had friends tell me, well, why don't you just change your whole schedule so you get up like a half hour before him, so then you don't have to be aware of this problem. But that doesn't seem right because, for one thing,
What time's the alarm go off?
5:30.
And what time does your alarm go off?
My alarm goes off at 8:30.
Okay. I would say if you're going to sleep in the same bedroom and your husband is not going to respond to that alarm and he's going to require you to get him up, then you're already awake. You're already awake at 5:30 when the first alarm goes off.
Right, but it disrupts my whole day because
I don't think it disrupts your whole day as much as the frustration you have with the fact that he goes back to sleep and you have to eventually wake him up after the second or third alarm. I think that ruins your day far more than getting up at 5:30. I know a number of people who go to bed early enough the night before to get up at 5:30 either with their husbands or do some spiritual work or walk or exercise or things like that. I don't think getting up at 5:30 is the problem. I think trying to get your husband up and being frustrated with the fact that he doesn't take responsibility and that you feel like a living alarm clock or his mother is the bigger problem.
right.
And that's the part I want you to resign to. Don't make it more complicated figuring out how in the world you're going to be able to sleep to 7:30. Don't make that that's more difficult. You'd have to sleep in another bedroom, and then that may not be the way you want to work your relationship.
Well, we've tried that. That doesn't work. It
Okay.
just builds resentment on both sides.
Okay, so I would suggest you reorganize your life so that you can have something to do when the first alarm goes off and or the second. If he reaches over and pops it in the second time, then maybe you get up on the second alarm. But what I want you to do is stop getting him up.
Okay.
Let him be late.
Okay.
Let the boss, the plant, or whoever have its impact in your husband's life. And when he comes back prepared to blame you for his being late, you tell him, I don't accept the responsibility.
I don't think he'll actually blame me.
Tell him you don't love him that much
To get
to take the fall. You know what I mean?
yes.
I love you, but I don't love you that much.
Well, explain to me what you mean by resigning myself. So I have to resign myself to the fact.
No. You see, you're using the word a little differently.
Oh, okay.
This is what you've already done, is resigned yourself to being his alarm clock.
Right. I don't.
I'm talking about quitting. Quit being, resign the job. Quit being his alarm clock. Quit being his mother. Quit trying to keep natural and logical consequences out of his life. Let them occur.
Right. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Quit. Stop. Do less. But reorganize your life so that you're not angry about getting up at 5:30. Find something of value that you can do.
Okay. Yeah. That's the part I was missing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go out and exercise, run around the block, read the paper,
Yeah.
read your Bible, do a study, something. But do something, and let your husband sleep till 12.
Well, the other day I did do this out of frustration, and I have to admit, when I got up, I banged doors and everything else. But I went.
But you're still trying to wake him up.
Sort of. Actually, I just wanted him to know how mad I was.
Yeah, but
which doesn't work because he couldn't hear me anyway because he was sound asleep.
yeah, he's not responsible for your anger, and he didn't make you angry.
Right.
You made yourself angry and frustrated because you can't get him to do what you want him to do. And he's assigned you the job of putting his life together. Resign. Let the natural consequences happen. Now, but do this, in all fairness to him. Tell him you quit. Maybe you need, like any other job, you need to give him a week or 2 weeks' notice. You know what I mean? At least give him 24 hours
Okay.
and tell him you've resigned.
Okay.
And explain it to him. Or maybe you write him a letter and tell him you resign. Okay?
Okay.
And then you call me back or tell him to call me.
Okay.
Either way, I want to hear from one of you, okay?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And if we ever get a program at 5:30 in the morning, we'll call him. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye, Becky.
Bye-bye.
Yep, that's what we'll do. We'll just, why don't we do that? Let's get the numbers, the phone numbers for everybody who listens to us, and we'll call them in the morning. We'll kind of be their wake-up call. Huh? Who's going to be here to engineer? Well, don't look at me. Hello, Guy.
Hi, John.
How are you, Guy?
Oh, hanging in there.
What a guy. How can I help you, Guy?
Well, I keep second-guessing myself. I have a hard time just trusting myself. And my decisions, it seems like I just can't trust myself.
Can't trust yourself to do what?
To get I'm going to school right now, like just getting my assignments down or getting everything I need, it seems.
Okay, so you procrastinate?
Yeah, that's one of the things I do. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, you put things off.
hmm
Not really organized?
No, I'm not organized at all.
Okay, does that mean you're always moving? Your thoughts are moving? You're
Right.
always kind of getting up and moving around? And
hmm
Okay, so is it a movement towards something or is it a movement away from something?
It's probably away from
Okay, what's it away from?
the reality of I have to do it.
No, well, this is where it plays itself out, but I think it's an older drama, don't you? You learned to keep moving.
hmm
You learned not to stay focused. You learned not to confine yourself with anything in particular because it was either too uncomfortable or too threatening or too frightening or something. And so you became shiftless. You became moving around, never stayed in one spot, running away from something or things. Organization and discipline meant you stayed put, but staying put became painful or uncomfortable or frightening. Does any of that relate to you?
hmm
Explain it to me. You see, we all have a history that would help us to understand the context of our behavior.
A lot of it has to do with not succeeding. It's hard to stick with something when you're not being very successful at it.
Yeah, but that's very current. I mean, that's a very current interpretation, but I don't know that that's the history where you learned this. Did you have a learning disability
Right.
in childhood?
Right.
Were you diagnosed with a learning disability? Or is that your own
Yeah.
diagnosis?
I was diagnosed pretty young.
With a learning disability?
Right.
By who?
By a doctor at UCLA Medical Center.
Okay. So you have ADD?
No.
Attention deficit disorder?
No, I have dyslexia.
Dyslexia.
Right.
Okay. Have you ever got any kind of help, professional help for your dyslexia?
Yeah, I've been to several different people.
Okay. Okay. And so your question to me is?
Well, I've listened to your tape that you have about all the bulls in your life, that kind of thing.
Yes, emotional matadors.
Right. And the one thing is that you bring out the point that we got to be able to trust ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then I said to myself, well, how can you do that when it seems like you make stupid mistakes? You don't seem to, at least for myself, I seem like I think I know something, and I'll even swear that I'll know that, like, this is the day to do something, and it's not.
Well,
Miss an appointment, or stupid stuff.
Yeah, it does have to do with being better organized.
Right.
And yet I think that we could probably point to a number of times when you have been organized and you have followed through. I'm going to talk to you off the air, and we're going to find those times and find out what's different about those times when you have been successful.
Have you ever felt like a matador, out there in the ring all alone with an angry bull ready to charge? Everyone watching to see what you'll do next? Intimidating, isn't it? Well, it doesn't have to be. Get a copy of John Jolliffe's 2-cassette album, How to Be an Emotional Matador. You'll learn how to cope with intimidation and face relationships with courage and compassion. Bullies you face at work, at school, or at home with the children or neighbors won't seem as strong or as dangerous. How to Be an Emotional Matador, available from the Issues of Life for $14.95. Write to Box 611, Long Beach, California, 90801. Or for faster service, call 1-800-4ISSUES and use your Visa or MasterCard. Again, that's Box 611, Long Beach, California, 90801. And the phone number is 1-800-447-7837.
One of the things that I was talking to Guy about, I want to give you this advice as well. Whether you have a learning disability, dyslexia, ADD, or whatever it is, or maybe you're just one of the multitude of the worried well, you have to make life and the systems in life customized. You have to customize them. You have to make your own system, because it's difficult to learn somebody else's system, and I think there are Franklin planners, and there are all kinds of week-at-a-glance calendars, and there are all kinds of other systems out there. The people who design these things, I guess they design them because they like all that organization, but you can be overcome with organization. All these slide rules and all these other things, all these tricks and all that stuff. Make it two things. Make it custom, make it fit your personality, things that work for you, and secondly, make them simple. Make them as simple as possible. One of the things I said to Guy, one of the things the guy was doing is he had a calendar, but he didn't look at his calendar. Well, I said, let's just reorganize a few things. Because if you can remember to put it in your calendar, then all you have to do is use that calendar as an object authority. An object authority. Rather than having your mom and dad, your husband or wife reminding you, you look in that calendar and let it remind you. But now we have to put the calendar or the briefcase in a very practical, convenient spot. I said it has to be next to the razor, next to the toothbrush. Put your briefcase in the bathroom and let your calendar be laying next to your toothbrush. So every time you brush your teeth at night, you look at your calendar, so you plan the next morning, and you know how to get dressed. And when in the morning you brush your teeth or shave, you're looking at the calendar again. So you're constantly reminding yourself, and your object authority is telling you what you're supposed to do next. Put it in the calendar and let it direct your life. Let's see. We had a question here. Patricia. Where's Patricia? Hello, Patricia.
Hi.
Whoa. Better turn down your radio.
Okay. Just
Yeah, just turn it down and you'll get feedback.
Okay.
Okay.
My question was, I'm having problems with my husband,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like at the point where he doesn't care about a relationship because I don't listen to him. I can't submit.
I think your radio's still a little too loud. Just turn it down. You can even turn the volume down. You can still record it.
Okay, hold on.
You get this 7-second delay, or you get this kind of beeping thing in the background. And I don't want to hear myself. That's 7 seconds later.
Okay, is that okay?
Better.
Okay,
You have this problem with your husband.
right.
What's the problem?
I'm having a hard time,
That's your husband calling.
probably, submitting to what he tells me. Like when he tries to discipline the kids, or he tells me to do this, I can't do it.
Uh-huh. You can't do it, or you won't do it?
Well, sometimes I don't agree with what he says,
Okay.
so I don't do it. And then he says that I'm not listening to him, that I'm not submitting to him, like the Bible says.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's hard for me because I feel that if I have to do everything he says, then I can't be myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I'm being controlled.
Mm-hmm. Can you give me a most practical incident, example? The most recent one?
Well, okay, a few weeks ago he said that I should take the cordless phone and put it away and get a regular telephone so that my daughter doesn't lock herself up in the bedroom and stay with the telephone. And I thought that was really stupid. And so he said that a few months ago, but then a couple of weeks ago he brought it up again, so I decided, okay, well, I'm going to do what he says. So I went ahead and I did it. But I really didn't feel I should have done it. Not the only reason I did it was because the Bible says you're supposed to submit to your husband.
No, I don't think I think it says submit yourself one to another, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it does say that.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's not what you said, but yeah. Okay. So whose turn was it to submit this time? You know?
Well, he says that I control basically everything in the household,
Uh-huh.
and that I don't let him be the man that he's supposed to be in the house.
Uh-huh.
But I get really upset because it's like he only wants to be the man in the house when he wants to be the man in the house and take authority only when he wants to.
Oh, yes.
And I'm not going to go for that because, like last night, I was telling the two kids, let's go to bed, and he's laying there on the couch, and he heard me tell these kids 3 or 4 times, let's go to bed, and he didn't stand up and say, did you hear your mom? Listen to her, or anything like that.
Well, now, do you have an agree? Well, how old are the children?
Well, there's the ones that I was talking to was 5 and 6.
Mm-hmm. And do we have agreed upon bedtime?
No, because he feels that my teenage kids should go to bed at 8 o'clock like the little ones, and I disagree with that. I think that because the kids are teenagers, that they should go to bed at least at 10 o'clock.
So how long have you been married to this?
Well, I've been married to him for 9 years, and my first 3 kids are from somebody else.
A previous marriage?
Yeah.
And how well did you know him before you married him?
I knew him for 2 years.
Mm-hmm. And did you get this sense of he likes to have things his way?
No, he was never like that until he became a born-again Christian.
He was never like what?
Like, he always basically let me do whatever I want.
Uh-huh.
With the kids.
Okay.
And then when he became a born-again Christian, then the Bible teaches that he's the priest of the house and that, we're supposed to do what he says, and then all of a sudden it just changed.
I've never read the Bible that way. I've never seen the Bible saying the things that the two of you somehow find it to say. I never saw it said where the husband decides for the family what time everybody's going to bed, and we have no interest in what the wife has to say.
Well, I was always taught that, since I didn't agree with him, that it doesn't matter, that the man has the last say-so. And it just, I can't do that. I can't, because then it's not me.
You must have some problems with Christianity if that's what you think that Christianity teaches. Do you have any troubles with Christianity?
No.
Well, do you think that Christianity teaches the things that you're saying it teaches?
No, but I don't.
Okay.
And maybe that's why I feel this way.
So this is kind of your husband's take on it?
I think so.
I'll tell you what to do. You find a place to shut up, and I'll tell you what to do. You know what I mean? That's what you're saying to me, isn't it?
Well,
Not kind of like that, but kind of.
Okay. I would think that probably, and it sounds like your husband, I don't think this is a spiritual problem, by the way. I think this has something to do with learning how to negotiate, learning how to compromise, learning how to work together as a team.
But he'll...
See, in a truly biblical marriage, in a Christ-like marriage, we don't have to assert, the submissive agenda. We don't have to say, now wives are to submit to their husbands. Wives don't have to say we're to submit mutually to each other. The whole question of submission is not something that you talk about. It's something that is done so easily. Now, maybe not so easily, but it's done because there is a feeling of mutual respect. But when you don't feel that there's a sense of mutual respect, it's very difficult, to submit or cooperate or work together.
But if we don't agree, I never agree with what he says most of the time.
Well, it might be interesting. It may be interesting that it may be that your husband is attempting to measure your submission, your respect for him. And he may not be thinking things through so that you could find something mutual. When people are using common sense, it's usually pretty easy to agree with them. We can find a lot in common. But if we're arbitrarily laying down rules to measure whether you're going to respect me or not, or submit to my leadership, and we're being rather arbitrary, then they're not really well thought out. I just said no. Did you hear me? I just said no. Well, why? Yeah, listen. Don't question me. You see, there's some other drama going on.
Yeah,
So,
I think you're right.
So what I would suggest is find a counselor, and probably for your husband, it's going to need to be maybe a minister or a counselor that is very well versed in the Bible, because your husband is finding some kind of, I don't know, he may be using the Bible to shelter, to cover some other dynamics, some other issues going on with him. So that counselor or pastor is going to have to be well versed in the Bible to help him deal with some issues, because he'll quickly disqualify anybody who doesn't use the Bible.
Right, and we've been to a couple of counselors and they're not Christians, so it's really hard.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't do that. That's a guaranteed failure to begin with your husband. There's people who use the Bible to get, to play out their drama. So if you'll stand in the line, we'll make some good referrals to you, okay? And we'll talk to the rest of you tomorrow at 2:05.
The Issues of Life is a presentation of the Issues of Life Foundation, Box 611, Long Beach, California, 90801.